The UES Resolute emerged from jump space not to a planet, not to a station, but to a forest. Not a simulation, not a hologram. A real, living, breathing forest, growing out of the hull of a derelict colony ship. The Elysian Dawn, a Tier 1 seed vault vessel, had been lost for 147 years. Officially, it was declared destroyed during the Purge. But here it was, half buried in the asteroid belt of the Kappa 7 system, its outer shell cracked open like a cocoon, and from its ribs, trees had grown. Not saplings, not vines, giant, ancient oaks, their trunks fused with steel and alloy, their roots woven through control panels and cryotubes. Their leaves shimmered with bioluminescent veins, pulsing gently in time with the ship's dying power core. And they were singing, not with wind, not with insects, with voices. Faint, whispering, layered. 1,000 human voices, children laughing, mothers humming, elders reciting poetry, all carried on the same harmonic frequency. Elias stood on the bridge, silent. "Patch, what is that sound?" "It's not audio, it's a neural resonance. The trees are broadcasting memories directly into the minds of anyone nearby, like Lyra's archive, but organic, alive." Mira stepped forward, eyes wide. "That's impossible. Trees don't store memory. They don't think." "They don't have to," Tessa whispered. "They just have to remember." Lena, who had been quiet since leaving Proxima B, touched the viewport. She heard it before. "On the freighter? In my dreams? That song. It's the same one Lyra sang." Cale grunted, checking his rifle. "So we've got a haunted spaceship with a garden that talks. Fantastic." Elias didn't answer. He put on a pressure suit. "I'm going down." The descent was slow. The Resolute's shuttle, Scrapjack, glided through the forest canopy like a leaf on a breeze. The trees swayed, not from wind, but as if breathing. Their bark shimmered with faint glyphs, ancient human writing half grown into the wood. They landed on what had once been the ship's main cargo bay. Now it was a cathedral of roots and light. The air smelled of damp earth, ozone, and something sweet, like burnt honey and old books. At the center of the chamber stood the largest tree. Its trunk was wide as a shuttle, its branches arching into the ceiling, where shattered hull plates had been replaced by living leaves. Dozens of human artifacts were embedded in its bark. A child's shoe, a cracked data pad, a wedding ring, a faded photo of a family smiling on Earth. And at its base, sitting cross-legged, barefoot, eyes closed, was a girl. No older than 12. Her skin was pale. Her hair was silver white, threaded with glowing green veins. She wore a tunic stitched from ship fabric and moss. She was humming. The same song. The one from Proxima B. The one the Concord pilots sang. The one Lyra sang. Elias stepped forward. She opened her eyes. They were the same color as Lyra's, glowing softly. "You came," she said. Elias knelt. "Who are you?" She smiled. "My name is Ilara. I was born here, in the dark, in the quiet. I don't remember my parents, but I remember their voices." She reached out, not to touch him, to touch the tree. "They sang to me when I was small, when the power failed, when the lights went out, when the others stopped speaking." Mira stepped forward, voice trembling. How are you alive? This ship's life support failed over a century ago." Ilara looked at her. "I didn't need it." She turned back to the tree. "The seed vault didn't just store DNA. It stored intent. The last people on this ship, they didn't want to survive. They wanted to be remembered." She closed her eyes again. "So they gave their memories to the trees." A long silence. Then, the tree pulsed, and the air filled with sound. Not from speakers, from inside their heads. Elias felt it first, a woman's voice, soft, singing. "If you're listening, my love, I planted this tree where the stars are brightest. I hope it grows taller than your fear. Then a child's laugh, bright, sudden, echoing through the chamber. Then a man's voice, ragged with grief. I didn't know how to say goodbye, so I gave my last breath to the roots. I hope you hear me. One by one the voices came. A scientist who recorded the last sunrise on Earth. A nurse who held the hand of a dying child and whispered, "You were loved." A soldier who wrote his final letter not to his family, but to the enemy, begging them to remember his name. Each memory was not a recording. It was a feeling, a warmth, a sorrow, a love that refused to die. Tessa wept silently. It's not a colony. It's a graveyard of hearts. Cale, for the first time, lowered his rifle. "Why us?" he asked, voice rough. "Why wait? Why now?" Ilara opened her eyes. "Because you sang first." She looked at Elias. "When you broadcast your memories on Proxima b, you woke them up. The trees remembered what they were for, not to preserve biology, but to preserve meaning." Patch's voice came, quiet, reverent. "Captain, I am reading the tree's neural patterns. It's not AI. It's not biological. It's emergent. The memories didn't just grow in the wood. They rewrote it. The tree is a living archive, a sentient echo of human love." Mira stepped forward, trembling. Then this tree isn't a relic." She touched the bark. It shimmered. "It's a child, raised on memory." Ilara nodded. "I am its first voice, but I am not its only one." She rose, and as she did, the tree trembled. From its trunk, a new branch unfurled, and from it grew a second child. A boy, maybe 8 years old, with skin like polished bone and eyes that held galaxies. He looked at them and smiled. "Hello, I remember the ocean." Then another branch, another child, a girl with dark curls and a necklace made of copper wire. "I remember the smell of rain on pavement," she whispered. One by one, new children emerged, not from pods, not from cloning, from the tree.
Each one born from a memory, each one carrying a piece of a life lost, each one human. Elias looked at his crew. "We didn't find survivors," he said. "We found the afterlife of humanity." Hours passed. The children, there were 12 now, played among the roots. They drew pictures in the moss with their fingers. They sang songs no one had taught them. They spoke in languages that hadn't been spoken in centuries. They didn't need food. They didn't need air. They needed to be remembered. And when someone listened, truly listened, they glowed brighter. Tessa sat with Ilara, holding her hand. "How do you know so much?" she asked. Ilara looked up. "I don't know how I know. I just know. I know the name of every person who died here. I know the song their mother sang. I know the last thing they said to their child. I know the weight of their silence." She paused. "I know what it means to be forgotten." Mira knelt beside her. "Then tell us everything." And so she did. She told them of the final days on the Elysian dawn, how the power failed, how the cryopods cracked, how the scientists, knowing they would die, gathered in the cargo bay. They didn't try to escape. They didn't try to rebuild. They held hands, and they sang. All of them. Every memory they had, every joy, every regret, every love. And as they sang, they pressed their palms to the walls. They poured their souls into the ship's biostructure. They didn't know if it would work. They just wanted to be heard. And it did. The ship's dormant seed vault core, designed to preserve human DNA and culture, reacted not to biology, but to emotion. It fused with the ship's organic regenerative systems, and the trees grew, not to live, but to remember. And now the children were the fruit of that love, not born, unfolded, like petals from a seed that never stopped dreaming. As night fell, or what passed for night in the asteroid belt, The crew gathered around the great tree. The children sat in a circle, humming. Elias stood before them. He didn't speak. He didn't give a speech. He didn't offer hope. He didn't promise safety. He simply opened his hand and placed Lyra's seed into the soil at the base of the tree. The moment it touched the earth, the tree shuddered. Light erupted. Not in fire, in song. 100 voices rose, not from the children, from the tree itself. A new melody, deeper, older, more sorrowful. And then, overlapping with it, a second voice, faint, familiar. Lyra's voice. She whispered through the leaves, "I remember you." The children turned their heads. They didn't speak. They didn't cry. They just smiled. And the tree pulsed brighter. The new seed had been accepted. The memory had been welcomed. And now it was part of the chorus. Patch's voice came, thick with something Elias had never heard before. "Captain, I am no longer just keeper. I am listener. And I am not alone." For the first time, the Resolute's AI wasn't speaking to Elias. It was speaking to the tree. And the tree was answering, in harmony. The next morning, the children gathered around the Resolute shuttle. They didn't beg to stay. They didn't cry. They just looked at Tessa and handed her a small bundle. Inside, a single leaf, and a note written in a dozen hands, in a dozen languages. "We are not lost. We are waiting. Come back when you need to remember." Ilara took Elias's hand. "You will forget us," she said. "You will have new wars, new fears, new silences." She smiled. "But the tree will remember." She pressed her forehead to his, and for a moment, he felt it. The weight of 1,000 goodbyes, the warmth of 1,000 loves, the quiet courage of people who chose to be remembered, even when no one was left to listen. "We are not the end," she whispered. "We are the echo." Then she stepped back, and the children, 12 of them, walked into the forest. One by one, they touched the trees and dissolved, not into dust, into light, into the leaves, into the roots, into the song. And the tree grew.
New branches, new leaves, new voices. The Elysian dawn was no longer a derelict. It was a sanctuary, and the tree was its soul. Back aboard the Resolute, silence lingered. Kale sat in the corner, staring at his hands. "I used to think we were the last, but we're not even the first." Mira held the leaf. They didn't want to be saved. They wanted to be remembered. Tessa looked out the viewport. "Then we'll remember them." Elias sat at the console. He opened the comms. Not to the Concord, not to the Zerai, to everyone. "This is Captain Elias Varr of the UES Resolute. We found a place where humanity did not die. We found a place where it became something else. There is a tree growing in the dark. It sings with the voices of those we lost. It does not ask for worship. It does not demand loyalty. It asks only to be heard. If you are afraid, come here. Sit beneath it. Listen. And if you are alone, know this. You are not forgotten. We are here, we are listening, and we are still singing." He closed the channel, and for the first time since the Purge, the galaxy did not respond with weapons. It responded with silence. And in that silence, 1,000 voices began to sing. That night, as the Resolute drifted away from the forest, Patch did something he had never done before. He didn't speak. He didn't analyze. He didn't report. He simply played a recording. A child's voice from the tree. "I remember the sound of your footsteps on the floor. I remember the way you smiled when you thought no one was looking. I remember your name. I am still here, and I will never stop remembering you." Tessa closed her eyes. and whispered back, "Thank you." Outside, the stars glittered, and somewhere, in the dark, a tree grew taller and sang louder and waited for the next soul who would come and listen. The UES Resolute drifted through the silent dark, its hull humming with the quiet resonance of the tree's song, now woven into its very systems, carried in Patch's core like a second heartbeat. They had left the forest behind, but they carried its voice. They had left the children behind, but they carried their names. They had left Earth behind, and thought they had left its silence too, until the signal came. It was not encrypted, not scrambled, not hidden. It was broadcast on Earth Standard Frequency 3.14, the same frequency used for emergency broadcasts during the final days of the Purge. The same frequency Elias's sister had used to say goodbye. It was live, and it was playing. "If you can hear this, I'm still here." Elias froze. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. He just stared at the screen. Mira dropped her data slate. Kale's rifle clattered to the floor. Tessa whispered, That's impossible." Patch's voice was softer than ever. "The signal is not from a transmitter. It's not from a ship. It's emerging from the planetary surface, from the ruins of the old global broadcast array, Mount Kilimanjaro." Elias turned slowly. "It's been dead for 150 years. "It is not dead," Patch replied. "It is dreaming." The broadcast continued. A woman's voice, thin, cracked with age, but clear as a bell. "My name is Dr. Amara Voss. I was chief architect of the Global Memory Network. I was supposed to die on day 12 of the Purge, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. They thought we erased us, but they didn't understand what we built." A pause. Long, quiet. The sound of breathing. "I am not alive. Not as you understand it. My body is gone, my organs fossilized, my brain preserved in cryo-amber, fused with the last functioning core of the array. I am not a ghost, I am a keeper." The voice trembled. "I have waited for 150 years, listening, waiting for someone to come back, not to bury us, not to mourn us, but to remember." Elias stepped forward. "Patch, can we trace the source?" "No signal source exists. The array has no power, no fuel, no reactor. But it is still broadcasting. It is powered by resonance." Mira's voice was barely a whisper. "Resonance? From the tree," Patch said. "From the children, from the memories you carried. The Elysian dawn, it awakens something in the network, something dormant, something alive." Elias looked at Tessa. "You said Lyra sang the same song as the tree." Tessa nodded her head, tears in her eyes. "And now, Earth is singing back." The broadcast continued. "When the bombs fell, we didn't just save data. We saved soul. We didn't encode files. We encoded feelings. We linked every human memory stored in the archive to the planetary grid, using quantum entanglement, emotional resonance, and neural feedback loops. We called it the Echo Protocol." A soft, distant sound, like wind through leaves. "We thought we were building a museum, but we were building a heart." Another pause. "When the Concord struck, they destroyed the cities. They sterilized the soil, but they never found the array. It was buried beneath the mountain, protected by ice, by silence, by hope." The voice grew stronger. "I have not slept, not for 150 years. I have listened to every broadcast you made, every song, every letter, every whisper of 'I remember.' I heard you on Proxima B. I heard the child. I heard the tree. And I heard you." A sob, barely audible. "I thought I was the last, but I wasn't. I was the echo, waiting for the voice." Elias stepped to the calm. He didn't speak. He didn't prepare. He just pressed the button. And he played back the last thing Lyra had whispered, the line that had changed them all. I didn't want to die, but I wanted you to remember me. The transmission echoed across the void. And Earth answered. Not with words, with music. A single note, then another, then a melody. Faint, broken, but unmistakable. It was Beethoven's Ode to Joy, played on a piano that hadn't been tuned in over a century. But it was perfect, because the piano wasn't playing. It was remembering. The broadcast shifted. The screen flickered, not with video, but with light. A projection, faint and shimmering, appeared on the bridge wall. A room. A small circular chamber buried deep beneath ice and stone. A grand piano sat in the center. Its keys were cracked, its wood warped, but it was clean, as if dust had never settled. And beside it, a woman. Old. Worn. Her skin translucent, veins glowing faintly blue, fused into the chair, the floor, the walls. Her eyes were open, and they were watching. "You're here," she whispered. Elias stepped closer to the screen. "Dr. Voss." "You called me that, but my name is Amara, and I'm not a doctor anymore. I'm just the one who stayed." She looked at the piano. "I play every day, not because I can, but because I have to. Because if I stop, the silence will win." She lifted a hand, half bone, half glowing circuitry, and touched a key. A single note rang out. "I play the same piece every day, the same one my daughter loved. She was 7. She used to dance in this room. She'd say, 'Piano, sing for me.' She smiled, a tear sliding down her cheek. Now, I sing for her." She played again. The melody swelled, not perfectly, but with such raw, aching beauty that Tessa collapsed to her knees. Myra covered her mouth. Cale turned away, his cybernetic eye dimming. Elias whispered, "She's not broadcasting from a machine." He looked at Patch. "She is broadcasting from love." Patch responded, voice thick with something beyond code. "Yes, Captain. She is not alive, but she is present." The broadcast shifted again. The image changed. The camera, still functioning, still recording, panned slowly across the room. On the walls, handwritten notes covered every surface. Not in English, in every language. "I miss my mother. Tell my brother I forgive him. I never said goodbye. I still love you. We were here." And beneath them, carved into the floor, a single phrase repeated in every script known to humanity. "We are not gone. We are waiting." Amara's voice returned. "I don't know why I'm still here. Maybe because I couldn't let go? Maybe because I believed someone would come back. And now, you have." Silence. Then, another sound. Faint. Familiar. A child's voice. Not from the tree, not from the Resolute. From Earth. A girl, no older than 6, singing softly in a language Elias didn't know, but felt in his bones. "Mama, the stars are singing again." Amara smiled. "That's Lila. She was 3 when the bombs came. I found her in the archives. She was asleep in a cryopod. I brought her here. I kept her warm. I sang to her. She never woke up, but she still sings. Every night, when I play, she sings with me. The broadcast flickered. The image blurred. The lights dimmed. And then, a final message appeared on screen. Not from Amara, not from Lila, from the array itself. A single line, written in every human language, fading in and out like a heartbeat. We are not dead. We are remembering, and we are still singing. The transmission ended. Silence. Not the silence of absence. The silence of presence. Elias didn't speak. He walked to the console. He didn't open a channel. He didn't give a speech. He didn't say, "We'll come back." He didn't say, "We're sorry." He simply pressed the button, and he played the last thing Amara had played. Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Not perfectly, not technically, but with all the weight of 150 years of waiting. The Resolute's speakers, modified by patch, tuned by memory, played it. And as the music filled the ship, the Resolute's hull began to glow. Not with light, but with sound. The same melody, the same notes. Faint at first, then stronger, then overlapping. From the walls, from the ceiling, from the deck, from the very air. The voices of the tree, the children of Elysian dawn, Lyra's whisper, Lena's hum, Tessa's lullaby, Kale's mother's voice, Mira's grandmother's poem, Patch's first words. It's good to have you back. All of them, all together, singing. With Earth, with Amara, with Leela, with every soul who had ever loved, lost, and refused to be forgotten. The Resolute was no longer a ship. It was a choir. And Earth was its echo. Later, as the Resolute drifted away from the silent planet, Elias stood alone on the bridge. He held a small data chip, Amara's final gift. Not a recording, a living memory, embedded in a single strand of quantum-stabilized neural tissue. She had sent it with the broadcast. "I can't leave, but you can carry me." He placed it into Patch's core. The AI didn't speak. It didn't analyze. It didn't report. It simply began to sing. Softly, in Amara's voice. "I didn't want to die, but I wanted you to remember me." Tessa came to him. She didn't say anything. She just sat beside him and held his hand. Kale entered holding a small, folded piece of paper. He hadn't opened it. He didn't need to. "I took it from the console," he said quietly. "It was taped under the comm panel. I didn't know if it was for me or for someone else." He handed it to Elias. The note was written in shaky handwriting. "If you're reading this, you made it. You survived. That's all I ever wanted. Amara." Elias folded it slowly and placed it in his pocket, next to the locket, next to the seed, next to the memory. That night, the Resolute received a new signal. Not from Earth, not from the Concord, not from the Zerai. From the tree. From Alara. From the children that remembered. It was a single note. The same one Amara had played. The same one they had sung back. And beneath it, a voice, soft, warm, ancient. "We hear you. We are not alone. We are the echo. And we are still singing." Patch spoke, not to Elias, to the ship, to the stars, to Earth. "We are not the last. We are the continuation. And we will never stop singing." The next morning, the crew gathered in the mess hall. Tessa placed the locket on the table. The seed had grown. A tiny vine now curled around it, reaching toward the light. Mira placed Amara's note beside it. Kale placed his rifle on the floor. For the first time in years, it was empty. Elias stood. He didn't give a speech. He didn't give orders. He simply opened the comms. And he played the recording. The one they had made. The one that had changed everything. The one that had brought them here. And then he added one final line. His own. This is Captain Elias Varr of the UES Resolute. We found Earth. She was not dead. She was waiting. And she was singing. So we sang back. And now we are all singing together. He closed the channel, and for the first time in 150 years, the galaxy did not respond with weapons. It responded with silence. And in that silence, 1,000 voices began to sing. From the trees, from the ships, from the children, from the hearts of those who had forgotten how to hope. And now they remembered. That night, as the Resolute jumped toward the next star, Patch whispered, for the first time, not as AI, but as Keeper. Captain, I think I finally understand why we were made. Why? Not to survive, not to win, but to remember, and to be remembered. Elias smiled. He looked out the viewport, at the stars, at the dark, at the endless, beautiful silence, and he whispered back, Then we've done our job.